The lion roared and leapt toward the cliff's edge, where a small dog dangled, clinging with only one trembling paw. The wind howled. The abyss below stretched endlessly, and for a moment it seemed everything was lost. But what the lion did next left the entire savannah in stunned silence. Stay until the end, because the ending of this story will not only break your heart, but also restore your faith in a bond that defies all boundaries. Our story begins on the wide African plains, where the red sun scorches thorn bushes and dusty trails. At the edge of the Masai Mara stood a small wooden cabin, home to Henry, a 70-year-old former lion researcher. With silver hair and a bent back, he spent his later years caring for orphaned animals. Each day, he walked the dirt path with his cane, always accompanied by Max, the loyal German shepherd he once saved as a puppy. One day, after a heavy rain, Henry and Max went to check the riverbank. There, in the hollow of a rock, Henry spotted a tiny lion cub, no more than a few months old. Its fur was soaked, its body shivering violently. There was no sign of its pride nearby. Henry crouched low, his eyes filled with concern. Max stood stiffly, ears perked, letting out a low bark. The lion cub tried to growl, but the sound came out weak, almost like a kitten's mewl. Henry realized that left alone, the cub would not survive the night. But bringing it back would mean breaking rules, and inviting trouble he wasn't sure he could handle. Henry hesitated. He knew the regulations well. No one was allowed to keep a lion cub inside the research camp. Orphans had to be handed over to the main rescue center, miles away across the plains. But this cub was frail, and the nearest facility was more than 100 miles from here. Perhaps it's best to let nature decide, he muttered under his breath, turning to leave. Max looked at him, then back at the cub, his eyes almost pleading. The lion cub let out another cry, hoarse, desperate, fading. Henry took a few steps, but his feet grew heavy. He gripped his cane tightly. Deep inside, a question gnawed at him. If I walk away now, will it have any chance at all? The answer would come in the most unexpected way. When Henry glanced back, what he saw stopped him cold. Max, the little dog, was creeping closer to the cub. Instead of barking or baring his teeth, he leaned forward and gently licked the wound on the cub's paw. Henry's breath caught. A dog, a natural rival to the lion, was showing tenderness. In Max's eyes, there was no fear, only compassion. Henry exhaled a long sigh. He knew he could not abandon the cub. Carefully, he scooped the little lion into his arms. It buried its face against his chest, while Max wagged his tail as though he had just found a new brother. That moment marked the beginning of a story no one could have imagined. From that day on, Henry's wooden cabin had one more beating heart inside. The lion cub was named Leo. At first, Leo was fragile, shivering through feverish nights. Henry stayed up, spoon-feeding him warm milk, while Max lay curled beside him, sharing his body heat. Time passed. Leo grew strong, muscles rippling under golden fur that glistened in the African Sunday. Max remained the same faithful dog, smaller in size, yet towering in loyalty. And together, they became inseparable. They ate together. They played together. At noon, both sprawled under the wide acacia tree, napping shoulder to shoulder. Villagers came to see the odd pair. Some marveled. Others shook their heads. The old man has lost his mind, they whispered. One day, the lion's instinct will awaken. And then? But Henry believed. He believed that if a dog could open his heart, then even a lion could choose compassion. The friendship soon became a legend in the area. Tourists stopped in awe, watching a German shepherd carry a stick in his mouth while a majestic lion lumbered along beside him. Children laughed with delight. Yet researchers remained doubtful. It's only a matter of time, one said grimly. Instinct cannot be tamed. The lion will remember what he is, and the dog will pay the price. But Henry noticed something the others could not. When Max barked at strange noises, Leo would rise first, standing between his friend and danger, as though declaring, "No harm will come to him while I'm here." Still, fate has its own way of testing bonds. One late afternoon, Henry led Max and Leo along a narrow mountain trail. Suddenly, the earth gave way. Rocks tumbled, dust filled the air. Max slipped. In an instant, his small body dangled over the cliff's edge, claws digging desperately into a dangling root. Below, sharp rocks waited like knives. Henry froze, heart racing. "Max!" he cried, but his old legs trembled. He couldn't climb down. He could only watch in terror as his faithful dog whimpered, paws slipping inch by inch. Then came a roar that shook the valley. Leo, the lion, charged forward, his mane whipping in the wind. Before Henry could shout, Leo lunged over the edge, claws sinking deep into the crumbling rock. With his massive jaws, he gripped Max by the collar, holding him firm. The mountain echoed with his roar, not the roar of a predator, but the roar of loyalty. Slowly, with sheer strength, Leo pulled Max back to solid ground. The little dog trembled, eyes wide with fear, then pressed his head into the lion's mane, whimpering softly, as if to say thank you. Henry collapsed to his knees. Tears streamed down his weathered face as he stroked both animals. In that moment, he understood. The kindness he once gave had returned to him, multiplied. He had saved Leo from death, and today, Leo had saved Max, the only family Henry had left. It was proof that kindness, once sown, always finds its way back, sometimes in the most astonishing forms. After that day, no one doubted the bond anymore. Villagers spoke of it with reverence. The lion and the dog, they grew up side by side, and when death came close, the lion risked everything to save his friend. Henry continued his quiet life in the little cabin. Each evening, as the sun melted into the golden plains, he would sit on his porch. Beside him lay Max, and stretched out just beyond, Leo, the king of beasts, who had chosen to guard rather than conquer. That picture stayed with everyone who heard the story. A man, a dog, and a lion, bound not by nature's law, but by something stronger, love and loyalty. And if you think this tale is the most miraculous of all, then you haven't yet heard the story of the dog who carried a piece of beef into the forest every day until people discovered a wounded leopard. Don't miss that story, because it will move the whole world to tears.